It's Zach Edey with Purdue men's basketball, and you're watching Boilers in the Stands.
Welcome back to Boilers in the Stands. I am your host, Joe Jackson. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Kraig Bowers. Purdue comes off a 92-88 loss in overtime against Northwestern, a game that looked like Purdue a couple times might have just been able to run away with. But, credit to Northwestern. They hit a lot of tough shots. They got a lot of good shots. This was by far their best game of the year, and credit to them for being able to pull that off. Lot to get into. Obviously, a lot of negatives. I still think there's some positives to take away. But Kraig, I'll throw it to you. Just brief overview thoughts of the game.
Too many turnovers and bad 3-point shooting. And it kind of sounds a little bit like a broken record from last year in terms of the things that would cause us to lose. But I think it's as simple as that. When you watch the game or just look at the stat sheet when it's done, we haven't had a turnover game where we had this many turnovers this year. If you take out overtime, we have. But in those games, we also forced quite a bit of turnovers. So the turnover margin might have only been 4 or 5. And when you look at tonight in terms of total turnovers, 17 Purdue turnovers to 3 Northwestern turnovers. So you've got a difference of 14 in terms of turnover margin there. And then when you go look at 3-point shooting, Northwestern shoots 10 of 20 for 50%, and we shoot 5 of 19 for 26.3%. So let the Wilson Evo ball conspiracy theories continue. We still have not shot well with that ball in any game in the last 2 years. But I think it's as simple as that. Like it's not rocket science.
Yeah, turnovers, 3-point shooting. Just not getting quite as good of looks as usual. Edey did his thing, 35 points, 14 rebounds, 3 blocks. It really felt like at times he just needed to touch the ball every single possession. And I know it can't always work, but I think this is the first game where some of the Jones shot selection kind of bit Purdue. There's a couple, there's the fadeaway 15-footer in the first half. Not the 2 open threes that he missed. Those are, I think, obviously fine looks. But there was one before that. Edey had just gotten fouled or scored on like 3 or 4 straight possessions. Ball doesn't even touch his hands as Jones kind of puts one up. Just a lot. Braden, he had his spurts. I marked down the 13-30 in the second half. I tweeted it out like he had 3 straight drives. And I was like, okay, there's Braden. Like he needed to be able to bend the defense, get downhill. And then it kind of resorted back to the just, I don't know, tired or what it is, but where he can just be sped up a bit and not. I know Robbie talked about the drop coverage in the first half, but that hedge is what gives Braden Smith problems specifically. If a team can hard hedge really well and really force him to kind of take a step back, I think that's when it's just like it's tougher for Purdue to get into their stuff. Unless you have something off that, we can jump into stats.
No, we can go ahead and jump into stats.
So I'm not going to go through all of them. Obviously, we mentioned the 3-point shooting, 5 of 19 for Purdue, 10 of 20 for Northwestern. Rebounding is hilarious, 52-27 in Purdue's favor. Let's see, Northwestern 22 assists on 31 made shots. Specifically, Bowie goes for 31, 9 assists. Obviously, he's best point guard in the conference, one of the best in the country, period. The kicker was Barry and Langborg. Barry's been playing better as of late. I'm pulling up his stats right now. Barry is, over the past 4 games, Barry's gone for 13, 14, 14, and 21. It's Langborg was especially the one. He's gone for, he went for 6, 9, 13, 5, and 20. This was by far his best game, and Northwestern needed every single one of his shots, knocking down good shots. You get Hunger knocking down a three, who's his first on the year. The free throw disparity, 31 to 41 for Purdue, 20 to 32 for Northwestern. So honestly, not that crazy. It was good to see Edey go 15 of 20 from the free throw line. I know I just kind of rambled more than I probably expected to. Turnover 17 to 3, like we said. Aside from threes and turnovers, is there anything on this page specifically that kind of pops out to you, Kraig?
No, I mean, I think those are the two primary things just in terms of issues tonight. Obviously, our offensive rebounding margin is kind of what kept us in this game. Because if you would look at that turnover difference and you would look at the 3-point shooting difference, you would say, well, how is Purdue even in this game? So obviously offensive rebounding, as often is the case, just having a dramatic advantage in rebounding in general, but especially offensive rebounding is a primary thing. They kept Purdue in this game late, but in the end, too many turnovers, not enough made 3-pointers. So,
yeah. 16 offensive rebounds, and it says 16 second chance points as well. That's actually a little bit lower than what I was expecting. Northwestern had 5 offensive rebounds for 3 second chance points. Okay, I guess whatever. Yeah, it is just there's more to it than just knockdown shots, I think, but also just knockdown jumpers. Purdue, they were 40% or whatever, 42% coming into the season from 3. They are now 40.9%. Even if they shoot 35% gets them this win. I guess we can kind of jump into more of the player by player. Let's start with Edey, because I like positivity. As simple as that. Edey goes for 35, 14, 3 blocks, 15 to 20 from the line, 10 to 17 from the floor. Impacted the game defensively. When he was in the game, Northwestern was only taking floaters and pull-up twos. They were not really trying Edey at the rim, and if they did, it didn't turn out well for them. Edey was so dominant on the offensive end, I thought. Couple key turnovers, passing out of that double, which Northwestern does a really, really good job with that double team. And so there is that for sure for what Edey just has to continue to do better. But it was literally crazy. It felt like in the second half, especially towards the last 10 minutes, or last 7 minutes that he was in, did the ball touch Edey's hands? Yes. Okay, that was a good possession. Did it not touch his hands? Oh, that's a bad possession. He was just making plays. Northwest fouls 2 dudes out. Northwestern had literally no answer for him. He still even missed a few kind of hooks and shots that we expect him to make too. But not, maybe not an absolute perfect game, but it was pretty close to something like that for him, I thought.
Yeah, he played a really good game, obviously, all the way through. And like you said, there was that stretch, like partway around the beginning of the second half, where it seemed like he missed 3 or 4 kind of point blank shots. TKR missed a few point blank shots. I think Gillis had an offensive putback or first, one of the 2 that we missed point blank.
Yeah.
That doesn't show up anywhere specifically on the stat sheet. In terms of being able to point to that. But I think that stretch in that first 10 minutes in the second half, or maybe 7 or 8 minutes in there, they're going to look back at some of those shots at the rim that would have just kind of helped keep that lead pushed out a little bit further. And look, we can't expect Zach to be perfect. And a missed shot at 7'4", you say, well, I'm 6'1", 180, and I'm taking a 3-foot shot, should be able to hit that every time, right? But 7'4" with 2 guys banging on you, trying to take a shot at the rim like that, he's going to miss some. It just kind of came in a spurt of 3 or 4 in a row. TKR missed a few in that stretch. Like I said, Gillis missed a few in that stretch. But when they go back and watch film, I'm sure they're going to look at some of those shots at the rim right there and just think, man, we could have kept that lead pushed out to 7, 8, 10 points a little bit further, and then maybe things are a little bit different. So. Ben Koldzinski, who was on the game post game with you when I was out in Maui the other day, is at the post game press conference and just talking about the turnovers. And he's paraphrasing; these aren't direct quotes from Painter. But one of the things that Painter said in the post game press conference is just that they got to do a better job with those turnovers. Too many turnovers, especially feeding the post down the stretch.
Yeah.
And what was odd to me about a lot of those is it wasn't like Northwestern was really giving any added pressure from anything that they've done all game. It just seemed like late in the game, for whatever reason, the guards got sped up trying to feed him the ball. Zach one time started his move before he actually caught the ball. It just seemed like they were little mental lapses down the stretch there a couple of different times that I don't even want to say Northwestern really forced. They're obviously pressuring as much as they can, but it wasn't anything different than they'd seen the whole game for the most part. I don't know, obviously late in the game, everything gets a little bit tense, a little bit tighter. But got to just make those late game entry passes like you would any other time.
Yeah, and I've harped all season. Lawyer's arguably the best post-entry passer. He had the very, very critical turnover. Like that was just, I think that's pretty uncharacteristic for him. He usually is pretty much right on the money where the ball needs to go. Like you said, just some of the pressure. It just got to him by the end. We talk about Edey being able to wear other teams down, and he did that with their bigs. The pressure I think eventually wore these guards down. I mean, Braden played 42 minutes, and it's because he had to. Because if he's off the floor, what is Purdue's offense? There is a lot of time still to learn. Obviously, I know fans will reference the last year and stuff that's like, hey, nobody's going to learn. That's a fair point, but I do trust these guys in the long run that, like, especially Braden. Like, I just think this was a very uncharacteristic game for him. It's also one of those that, like, he has to be aggressive to make plays, and sometimes being so aggressive gets him in trouble. Couple like the jump pass is the specific one, right? Like everybody's going to harp on that, and it's like, me personally, I just go back and forth because it's like, yes, that caused a couple turnovers without a doubt, and he's got to be better. But also, it opens up the floor so much for him at 6 foot or 5'11", whatever it is, that he just has to, I think, sometimes to find guys. But he's got to be better, just flat out. Like last game we were talking about Braden Smith as one of the best point guards in the country, type of conversation. He's saying, hey, he might be kind of entering those. If he's going to be in that conversation, he can't have 6 turnovers in this game.
No.
Yeah.
12 and there was a pass where he kind of tries to throw it back over his head to Zach, and it's a pass that he completes a lot of the time. But there's also kind of like time and, I think Robbie on the broadcast said there's time and place for that, right? Like,
yeah.
And in that close of a game, in that moment, make the sure pass instead of the fancy pass, and make sure, like, you haven't had to do a lot in that moment, in that time frame. They're down to their third big. You haven't had to do a lot special to get Zach the ball. Just get him the ball, like, in the safest way that you possibly can, and let your National Player of the Year go to work.
Yeah. We're kind of go through some of the other quotes that have been sent over. Painters, talk about they heard of themselves following Bowie up one in transition. Was that? I'm trying to remember that exact play. The only one that's coming to my head is the Jones, where Bowie throws himself into Jones.
Yeah, and I don't know. I would love to hear Isaac talk about legality of that play, because I mean,
Jones was running straight.
Jones is running straight, and Bowie jumps to his left and creates that contact. It wasn't a lot of times you'll see a guy kind of slow up and try to stop so that the guy runs into him. But Jones was running past him to his left, and Bowie jumps over to the left to create that contact. So
yeah,
I don't know officiating exact rules as well as Isaiah, who comes on the show every once in a while. But I was just like, yeah, is that a foul? Is that not a foul? Like, Boo created the contact, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. A couple of others. Painter, you just want to generate good shots. You can't make the ball go in. When you guys are taking bad shots, that's an issue. Thought there was obviously some forced ones. Not even just Jones, but Braden, I think maybe I'm okay with Braden forcing shots, to be honest, because that means he's aggressive, and that's a good thing. Couple others. Painter, if your best guy gets 35 and 14, you out rebound them by 27, you ought to be able to win. And then this one can kind of one more, and then we'll get to the defense. Painter, on the Northwestern guards, you want guards who can make good plays, who can make good decisions, and guards who can make shots. This is the best game they've played. Like I kind of said, this was absolutely laying boards, and Barry's best game of the year, without a doubt. Knocking down shots, being able to knocking down tough shots too. Langborg hit a couple like step back twos. Barry was in a couple contested threes. Like it wasn't all defensive lapses, although there was plenty. There's just some tough shot making too. And then we'll get on Painter on the defense lapses. You got to be able to have active hands and make it hard on them, get deflections and steals. And that can kind of take us to the defense, because I know that's the big thing, right? Purdue puts up 88. They average 1.11 points per possession. You want to see a couple threes go down. You want to see a couple fewer turnovers. But on the offensive end, like, is there really anything more to it than that? Knock down some shots, take care of the ball better. On defense, obviously Bowie got his, and Bowie was hunting Lawyer especially in overtime. Jones wasn't terrible. He definitely wasn't good, but also Bowie is so good that like it's just tough. And what Bowie does so well, and I think it's what caused a lot of issues, especially in that second half, is Bowie is so good of coming off the screen, and if he has you on his hip or his back, you are just locked there. He is dribbling into you. He's creating space that way, and now he's getting to his floater that he doesn't miss. And then what happened, I think, a little bit before Jones fouled out is Jones is then really trying to navigate the screen. So he's trying to get that lead foot out in front of the screener, and so that way he can stay in front, make contact with Bowie. And now Bowie's just refusing the screen, getting downhill. It's a tough matchup. It's one that Purdue brought Jones for, and then once he fouls out, I like that Heidi got it. I don't know. I know.
But he torched us as soon as
like he got what he wanted.
Like you could watch that game and like there were obviously moments that Jones came off defensively on him, and we had to like survive little breaks and whatnot. But you could look at that and Jones didn't like change the game defensively. Like there was nothing. He didn't really create many turnovers. It's not like he shut Boo down by any means. He still had 20 something before he went off the floor. But like as soon as Jones was done and out, Boo's eyes just lit up, and then they just picked on Lawyer from that point out. They tried to get in every pick and roll situation they could to create a switch, screening up high so that they could get Boo one-on-one with Fletcher. And we couldn't stop him. In that point, he pretty much got to do whatever he wanted to do, whether he was creating for others, or whether he was getting his own shot. I had texted you partway through the game, and we had kind of talked about it when we previewed this a little bit. Is like Boo's going to be Boo, right? If he gets 20, 25, 30, like Boo's going to have nights where he does that. The issue is you can't let Langborg go for 20 points. You can't let Barry go for 21 points on 3 of 5 and 4 of 5 3-point shooting. And I don't know how many times we lost them, and we couldn't keep them in front of us. And then Barnheiser kept getting into action where he throws up like 3,000 head fakes and little spin moves and whatever, and he kept getting people off of their feet and creating fouls and getting to the foul line. We just like we can look at Bowie and say, yeah, he put up 31 points. He had 9 assists, whatever it is. But like, there's a chance Boo's going to go off for one of those nights, but you can't let 3 other guys on that team beat you. You just can't. And we got torched by Langberger, just torched.
Yeah. And it's a lot of just simple pin down actions. Like it's something really all the guards, every guard except for probably Jones on the team and maybe Morton struggle with just getting around screens. Smith is bad. Lawyer's bad. Colvin's bad. I don't think Heidi's. I'm going to say no comment on Heidi because I don't actually know. And I don't like talking about stuff that I don't really know for sure. But just simple pin downs, and Purdue was just constantly a step or two behind. It's just what it was. Now they're getting to 15-footers. They're getting threes, or Bowie's driving. And I think Purdue got I'm interested when I watch it back. Purdue got, I think, lost a little bit on their help and rotation and what they needed to do. Part of it is because Bowie is so good that you just have to focus on him and try to take him away. And the others stepped up, and credit to them for hitting the shots too. They still had to make the shots. Purdue had some good shots that they missed as well. One thing that I haven't been looking too much at the comments, but I know one thing that's been talked about a lot is Lawyer playing in the overtime and late. and everybody's kind of ripping the defense. He got torched. There's no defense to that. Had the one good charge, but whatever. I just don't know who's playing over him. And also, Lawyer was so valuable on the offensive end because the answer is Morden, I guess. Morden got torched by Bowie too, and Morden provides no offense.
Right.
The Colvin's definitely not ready defensively. Like Colvin and Lawyer, right to me right now, are the same level of defender. And Colvin has the way higher ceiling, but I just don't know who else you would go with, especially with what Lawyer was giving offensively when Jones was out specifically.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult because you say where do you go from there? Cam had a couple of pretty nice plays in overtime. There was one specifically where Boo kind of had him beat a little bit, and he gets back in front of him, and he kind of shuts his drive down and forces the ball back out and whatnot. But that was just in spots. You sit there and say, all right, well, Lance didn't hit tonight, right? From 3. Plain and simple. Like Lance offensively, this was not a good game for Lance. He only had 1 turnover, which I guess is the bright spot of his game tonight compared to everybody else having quite a few turnovers offensively. Yeah. But just didn't shoot the ball well. Got downhill a couple times, got to the rim or to the foul line. But in terms of 3-point shooting, it was he was like 1 of 7. One was a forced late shot clock, but still, most of them were good looks. I thought there was 1, maybe 2 forced. But the rest of them were pretty good looks. It just wasn't going down. I think he was 7 of 12 on his last 12 coming into tonight. Just didn't go down tonight. So you say, well, maybe bring Colvin in. And Painter tried to bring Colvin in there for a little bit. And just team defense and rotations tonight, he got exposed pretty quick, getting lost a few times out there. And Colvin's going to be really, really good. And he's got to have the minutes to develop to be really good. But a close game like this, when you see him get lost a few times in a row, and he kind of got saved a couple times they missed right at the rim when he got beat. You can't, right? Yeah. You can't leave him out there too long and just hope things start to change or get better in that specific moment when it's a 3 or a 4-point game. Like you said, Morton maybe provides a little bit more defense over Lawyer in that specific instance towards the end, but like not really an offensive threat. And we've had games this year where Lance hasn't shot well from 3, but Fletcher and Braden have. And more importantly, we had a bunch of guys off bench minutes, whether it was Miles, Mason, Caleb, Heidi. Heidi hits one tonight, but he was the only one, right? When we look at everybody else who gets just 1 or 2 threes a game, usually nobody hits a 3 outside of Cam. I don't know. They did like you said, they did a really nice job of hedging out on Smith. So he just didn't have a chance to get many up in terms of outside shots. He did a nice job getting downhill and getting to the rim a few times, but it was kind of weird tonight because in some ways you're like, man, like Smith and Lawyer just disappeared from a scoring standpoint altogether for like huge stretches of the game, but also like Zach is getting whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And so you're feeding him over and over and over again because he's dominant in that matchup, but like everybody, it also kind of felt like everybody else would disappear in that moment. And then when you try to come back to them, when they have to make a play and they haven't taken a shot in 6-7 minutes, I get a little bit worried about that, I guess, at times.
Yeah, for sure. Corey Lesney said Heidi didn't make a 3.
Yes, he did.
He was 1 for 1 on the game. The Edie part is what I wanted to get back to too. Of like, yes, more. I hope people know, or if you watched last year, I'm very much a pro Morton guy. And I like his role this year with that, I don't know what he played today. He played 8 minutes. Yeah, that 10 to 12, 15-minute mark. The thing with if Morton is in, how, Painter or Edie was getting still some solid looks in the post, even kind of before the doubles come and stuff like that. The worry with Morton, if he's in, is that he is quite literally ignored. And so now Edie's catching and the doubles on him already. That's kind of the worry there. Without a doubt, he's a better, I would say he's the second best perimeter defender on the team. If not, he's third best. Colvin, I think with the defense too, like he's going to get there. It's just his mistakes are so bad right now. It's not Lawyer got absolutely torched one-on-one. And
Yep.
sometimes there's not a ton you can do about that. It's Colvin's more of the off-ball stuff of just allowing, the one-on-one you can somewhat deal with and just kind of hope they miss shots. The off-ball stuff is the stuff that hurts. And Colvin's, I've mentioned it all offseason. Like Colvin didn't really have to play defense in high school. That just the way the scheme that they ran and stuff like that. It's going to be a little bit more of a learning curve for him. But yeah, it's just Bowie got to do whatever he wanted, and Jones was okay. He wasn't great like he's been. If he has a great game and Bowie's maybe an inefficient 25, then it's a different game. Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know what else there was to do. Like, I just, in terms of the rotation, I truly don't know what else there was to do when Jones fouled out.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to have enough spacers out there to be able to continue to feed Edey, because that's your advantage, and you don't want just everybody crashing down and ignoring people from the outside. And you probably know that. And we didn't have timeouts towards the end.
Yeah,
a lot of times we've seen Painter go offense for defense over the last couple of years down the stretch, where he might have subbed out Lawyer and Morton kind of back and forth when he had the chances to. And he really couldn't, even if Collins would call the timeout. You don't know when you're going to be able to use that. And maybe Collins doesn't call it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so you don't get to put that sub back in to have who you want to have out there offensively. So I just think it's a really tough spot there. For whatever we want to say about Jones tonight, not shooting the ball well and everything else, he provides the threat of a three enough that he still provides some spacing out there, because he had shot it really well the last few games coming in, and he is our best perimeter defender. So that hurts. And when he picks up that cheap foul, chasing down Bowie coming down in transition there, whatever we think about that foul, it still hurts a lot when you're going into overtime.
Yeah, and this is where on the defense, like what I've mentioned before, Edey's the most important defender. If you have guards that are just going to shoot a ton of floaters and mid-range too, like that is the formula I think to beat Purdue right now, is you have an elite guard that can operate from the 15-foot mark and hit tough shots. And then you have a couple of guys that can knock down some threes. Like, it's got to be all on the perimeter, and those are just the harder shots in general than getting to the rim. And so when the team isn't getting to the rim as much, it does take Edey out of it some on the defensive end. Going to throw another positive thing back in. Can we just talk about the absolute dimes that Mason Gillis had on those inbounds passes?
We're insane.
The full court pass to Edey, really, really, really heads up play by Lawyer to immediately call timeout. Get reset, and then another just Gillis lob to Edey, sends it to overtime. It was beautiful. And you don't get to practice that live. Like, you can practice it in practice, obviously, but it's just different than live games. You don't get to do that much. And Purdue at least has run it now if they need to do it sometime later in the season.
Yeah, for sure. Those were two absolute dimes. I mean, he put them in the only spot that he could put them, one being right, almost a full court pass, and the other one just being a crazy angle to have that arc that he had on the ball to drop it right where Zach could catch it. And credit Zach. Like, how many 7'4", 300-pound centers are even catching those passes clean?
And he threw a pass immediately after that too. I know there's a timeout, but he caught it, fired that. Yeah.
And I don't, not to take it back to negative right away.
No,
but
it's a loss.
We lost. So, the two things that really jumped out the most to me of anything was obviously, I mean, the turnovers. Okay. And again, like you said, if we're going to have those conversations about, Smith being the number 2 guy behind Edey, Smith being one of the top point guards in the country, we can't turn the ball over that much. And our lead point guard that we're all pitching is all Big Ten, maybe in conversation for more than that, can't turn the ball over 6 times. Yep. We have to be able to stop dribble penetration from guard action. And primarily that's a Fletcher Lawyer issue tonight. Yep. I mean, more people struggled with it too, but Northwestern was. Collins has that NBA background, and in the NBA, and I've said this multiple times, this is why Carson did not last in the NBA, because in the NBA, when they find a weakness defensively, they just go to it over and over and over and over again until you sub the guy out, right? And at the end there, they were just ball screening again and again and again to try to switch Fletcher onto Boo. I don't know, like you said, I don't know what you do there exactly, because you have to have Fletcher out there offensively in that standpoint. If Lance was still out there, so you have Lance and Braden, then maybe you take him off and you put Cam out there or somebody else,
that would have been
or Morton out there in that situation. But with what we had in overtime, I don't know that you can do that. But it was an issue a lot of the game. And TKR was just pretty non-existent for a lot of the game tonight. Just really struggled to get going offensively in any way, shape, or form. In the second half, he had that little stretch where he got to the free throw line a few times in a row, but he shoots 50% from the free throw line, only has 2 rebounds tonight. I will not be shocked, and we've said this multiple times, Painter doesn't change the starting lineup when they're winning.
Yeah.
And this is the first loss, but I just think we look infinitely better when we have Zach and Mason on the floor together, and when we have TKR and First on the floor together. I think TKR provides a lot of things and looks really, really good when he's on the court with First. I just don't know that pairing is going to last with him and Edie long term. Yeah,
I'm with you. That's what I've said we've said is just he's not going to change it after winning. But now there's a loss. Iowa's the team that's next. That's going to be more of an up-tempo team. We can look at the rotations really quick. And if you look at TKR's minutes, Painter's already going to it. He keeps that starter, rotation in, and out after that first stint for TKR, both of his other stints were with First on the floor. And so, and even that second half, the second stint in the second half, Painter wanted that to be probably about 1 minute, and then he was going to get Edie back in. And then TKR 3 possessions in a row makes the first and misses the second, so he stayed in a bit longer than I think Painter wanted him to. I'm with you there. I wouldn't be shocked to see the change, and because then it's tough too, because it's just he is talented. There is talent there. It's just how do you fit him in with this system? And it's tough some nights. It's just this, especially like a Barnhizer. Barnhizer's a sick, he's a small ball 4. Purdue's going to play Iowa, and they're going to run up and down the floor. There's some tough matchups for him, I think, in general too.
Yeah, without a doubt. And as much as Iowa, in terms of what their pace of play is and what they can do in transition, I won't be surprised at all if we see that. Maybe not. Maybe he continues with the same starting lineup and just subs them out pretty quick. We've seen a lot of games where he subs out like 4 minutes into the game, and then they start to get a little bit more of that staggered rotation where it's either him or Zach in the game. So I don't know. I just think pairing wise, I think this game especially kind of showed that. Maybe a few more than a few other games. Mason didn't really do a lot offensively tonight. He gets up 1 3-pointer. But he does have a nice little drive, gets fouled, trying to go to the rim. But I think more than that, just what he can do defensively is a little bit more athletic and faster for on the floor. And then what he provides from a spacing standpoint. TKR has hit his last 2 threes, but doesn't take one tonight. I think Gillis just provides a little bit more extra spacing out there when he's out there too. But yeah, we score 88 points tonight. Like, I don't know. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about offensively, but like defensive, I keep going back to like, all right, Boo got 30. Great. Give him his ribbon. Like, he is a top 10 player, top 15 player in the country, most likely, right?
Yeah.
Those guys are going to get their points no matter what. Zach is going to get his points every game, right? Boo's going to get his, but we got beat by friggin' Langberg. Like, that's what I keep coming back to over and over and over again. Like, we let those guys get free and just get wide open looks all night long.
Yeah, 100%. It was after he hit like his first 2, I was worried because it's like, okay, he's finally showed up because he is a good player. He's very much struggled this year. He's had a good career at Princeton. And tonight was the night that he fully showed up, and Northwestern needed every single one of them from him. Where do you have like anything else you want to hit on for sure right now? Because I'm kind of running out of stuff, to be honest. Like we talked about the defense, poor shooting, Smith, Edie.
No, I've just, I see a lot in the comments about same team, same direction, exact same thing as last year. And like, certainly there's similarities, right? Last year they go out to the Nike PK tournament or whatever, have a few really big wins, ascend up to a really high ranking very quickly. And then immediately after they're ranked number one, get beat, right? No, it was the day after they got. And there's the similarities there with in terms of when they do get beat relative to the turnovers and the low 3-point shooting. With that said, that's similarities in 8 games or 9 games or 10 games. It is not the exact same team. There are different parts. There are different pieces here. I do think by and large, Smith has taken a lot better care of the basketball this year. So we'll see, we'll see what the journey is going forward. I don't think we need to immediately assume because of one game that everything is going to play out exactly like it played out last year.
Yeah, I think that's silly. I think maybe it's fair to like bring stuff up, but just to assume that's going to happen is whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, Smith 6 turnovers today. He had 3 against Tennessee when that crazy physical game. Like he has it in him to be good against physical teams. It's just it didn't happen today, and he's got to be better. It's still a very long season, and I'm going to kind of still hang my hat on like, hey, this last year Purdue had already peaked at this time, and I still really don't think Purdue's even close to being peaked yet. I think there's a lot of things that they can fix, and that's a scary thing for, I think, the rest of the Big Ten in that is there's a lot of things that Purdue can improve on. And as Colvin and Heidi get even more, used to the system and stuff, now you truly have 10 guys you can maybe go to, or 9 guys or whatever it is down the stretch. So, the loss was going to come at some point. Obviously it stinks that it was to Northwestern again, and that does suck, but it is what it is. Loss was going to come. Lots of stuff to improve on. I'm still excited to where this team goes. There's 3 more big games in December coming up.
Yeah. And, there was, I didn't really see any talk from Purdue people or Purdue fans at all, but some of the outside media beyond Purdue started talking about, well, when will Purdue lose for the first time? I don't see them having a chance to lose until February or da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, whoa, slow your roll. Like, it doesn't matter. The Big Ten road games are always tough. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're going to lose 2 or 3 or 4 Big Ten road games at some point in the year. Did it come faster than what I thought it would? Obviously, it did. I'm not gonna pull up the message just to prove it, but I was worried about tonight's game. I said something to a friend of ours that we're going to be on air with on Sunday. That like I wouldn't be surprised if this game was close and that we lost it, and they were kind of shocked that I said that. I'm like, man, Northwestern always plays us tough at Northwestern. It's the very first road game, and you've got Heidi and Colvin who've never played in that road environment before. You're coming off a really good stretch, but you're still trying to assimilate back from being in Hawaii and being gone for a week. I was there too. I didn't do anything physical over there, and it still took me 4 or 5 days just to like get my body assimilated back to being on this time zone and everything else. So like it wasn't going to shock me. And Northwestern doesn't turn the ball over. And if a team like Northwestern is going to beat a team like Purdue, they have to shoot way higher than their season average from 3 and not turn the ball over. And any NCAA tournament coach, when they talk about how you upset a team that is far superior to you, says you don't turn the ball over, you turn them over, and you hit a high percentage of threes. And Northwestern did all of those things tonight, right?
Yep.
And some of those games that we had over in Maui, if Tennessee shoots just a little bit better from three, we talked about the 3-point percentage differential was like almost 20 percentage points between Purdue and their opponents this year coming into this game. And we talked about the fact that that wasn't going to last. You know, if a couple of teams over there shoot a little bit better from three, those games could have changed a little bit too. So it is what it is. We got our first loss of the year. And probably not going to be ranked number one too much longer. That's probably going to go to Arizona, but we turn right back around. We play Alabama next weekend. We play Arizona the weekend after that. And I can assure you that if they turn things around and knock off those two teams, there's a really good chance that they're going to just ascend right back up really high in the rankings as well.
Yep. Some big games still coming up. One really quick comment. Isaac Blue asked random question, but it was driving him nuts the whole time he watched. Why was Purdue in white jerseys at an away game? Northwestern had their like black and gold outs because that's just what they did. So then Purdue wore the white jerseys with that. Yeah, I don't really have anything else in this game. There's big games coming up.
Yeah.
Season's not done.
Just for the record, that question definitely came from Jenna Blue. Because her husband is not a Purdue fan. There's no way for you to know that, but I know.
My bad.
That was definitely a Jenna Blue question.
My bad. Isaac and Jenna Blue is the name. My bad there. But yeah.
Braggs keeps throwing in as Northwestern better without Adij.
This team is worse than last year.
Tonight they were better because Langborg and Barnheiser and Barry all shot the ball and scored the ball extremely well. But on any other given night this year, no, they're not better without Adij.
Yeah,
they were better defensively than like you kind of sold me on like they're just not near as good defensively as last year's team, and
they haven't been.
Well, they were tonight.
Well, and part of it is the 3-pointer thing too. Like they give up a ton of threes and they give up a ton of open threes, and you just got to have dudes that knock them down too. Like it. This Northwestern played very, very well. Like I'm definitely not saying that they played really, really well. So, yeah, I think that's it. I've said this a couple times now. I'm going to throw it to you again. If you have anything else.
No, I don't have anything else other than hit the like button. Yeah, share our content, follow us on Twitter. You guys know our handles. Other than that, Sunday night, we'll be recording an Iowa preview show with some of the Sleepers guys, Greg Waddell, and doing a little guest spot for Sleepers on there previewing the Iowa game. And I think that'll come out Monday morning before that game. So watch for that as well. Those guys promote our stuff often, and we enjoy working with those guys and kind of trading back and forth on shows at different points in times. So watch for that coming out. I'm kind of dreading that guest spot now. Like I was really looking forward to that, but they have this fetish with blaming everything on Lance over there. So I'm really not looking forward to that preview show at this point anymore. So if I turn up 6 Sunday and you have to do that by yourself, Joe,
I'll be good. I'll make it. So yeah, we appreciate it. We do appreciate everybody tuning in. Obviously not the result that Purdue wanted in the 92-88 loss against Northwestern. But yeah, we will be back Monday. Iowa, 7:00 Eastern time is the tip, I believe. And I am quickly triple checking that. Yep, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Big Ten Network. We will be live right after the game or shortly after the game. Me and Kraig will be at Mackey. I don't know what Braggs will be up to or not, but live after the show, Iowa, Monday.
If it's a Monday night, Greg will probably have a show. So
probably not Kraig or Greg because he'll have to be talking about the Chicago Bears.
Even if he doesn't want to.
Even if he doesn't want to. So we appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will see you all Monday night.